Welcome, everybody. This is the Becoming Invaluable podcast. In our new book, Becoming Invaluable, it's a little hard to see in the lights, but I'm really pleased to be here today. I'm Steve Bowen, and my co-author, Dr. Terry Lyles, is with us today, along with one of our 9 interviewees in the book, Jason Johnson, who has a really spectacular story behind him. But with that, I'm going to let you, Terry, since you've known Jason for some time, introduce Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Jason, welcome. And yeah, Jason is a neighbor. We met just in the neighborhood in central places, and his son and my son hang out together and probably get in more trouble than they need to. So, that's all good, but fun. So we asked Jason to be a part of this because he's a pilot. He's been a pilot in his lifetime, his whole life. He still flies. His plane's in the background. He's going to probably fly today. So his story fit in this chapter that we're going to talk about. So as we introduce Jason, you have a great background of being a pilot, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you shared your story in there. And when we talk about that in chapter 6, I want to get into that a little bit. And we joke everybody, because everybody we interview in the book, all 9 of you, have a page number. So you're number 171. So we'll get to that in a moment. And as soon as I handed your wife a book, she went right to 171 to see what you said was real. So that's what happened. So Jason, welcome to the podcast, and glad you're here with us.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you guys for having me, and super excited to be part of the book. And like, as you mentioned, really appreciate the neighborly friendship first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And, when you brought the book to me and you started talking a little bit about the other people that you were interviewing, obviously resonated with me. So it's an honor to be part of it and to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Steve, this was really a cool chapter. Not that the rest of them aren't, but this was really like chapter 6 here. We really started getting into the didactics of how do you run your life. If you really want to become invaluable, you have to basically follow a flight plan. And this is where we start. And that's why I thought you were a good fit in this chapter. So, Steve, anything you want to bring into that? Because it is really important at this juncture in the book.
I will. Well, the chapter is titled, our health and strength builder, if you will. Mm-hmm. And we talk a lot about that in the book. But, one of the things that captured me with regard to Jason, when we interviewed Jason for the book, was his story, which I think, Jason, we all have ties back to our childhood and memories. But your story of the business you built as now the CEO of Executive Charters Jet Services, if I have it right. I probably don't have it exactly right. So incredible that you started so young in the business. So maybe you want to share a little bit about that first, and then Terry, you can take it into the health and the strength a bit more.
Okay.
So look, I think business isn't, when you grow up thinking, how much money am I going to try to make, or you look as towards money as the goal. I don't think that is really I look back at it now, and that wasn't my goal, right? It wasn't. And if I could, teach someone or just through my experience share, someone younger look to grow, and there are different people in the world. When the Porsche drives by, someone says, "Boy, that guy's lucky," and then there's someone else says, "Well, someone worked really hard for that," right? And over the years, certainly, I've learned that things come, right? Objects, they sort of come with success, but that's not what success is. And success is finding something that you truly love and that you're passionate about, and then realize one day, holy cow, I guess I could go buy that. It's having the upbringing, or at least watching the parents, and that's something I'm very fortunate about. I watched a dad work really hard, making toys as a kid, working when they went through a depression in the early 80s. My dad resorted to making wooden toys, always watching him work hard. And I think in the book, I say, my dad is the type of guy that would, and I say this a lot, would take a shirt, would take a shirt off his back, would give someone a shirt without having another shirt take the shirt off the back of somebody without actually having another shirt in the closet. And, that's just humility, right? It's just, being there for other people. I learn a lot about energy, and what you put into the universe, you get back out of it, right? And, instead of thinking about what you can take, think about what you can give. And, I feel that through the years, it's been more so, and, I'm diversified around many business aviation companies. It's more so follow, something that you truly love, and mine happens to be aviation, and work towards goals around that, and you'll be surprised how you can build a business around anything.
And it's really important. And Steve, part of this chapter, we really wanted to focus on, the preparation that is so important of your mind, your spirit, your body. Like, how do you prepare for your day? How do you prepare for the week, a meeting, a flight? So maybe talk a few minutes, Jason, about how important it is as a pilot to prepare before you take off in a plane, because there's a lot of definite things there that need to be taken care of.
Well, I think most entrepreneurs, or most people that have started with a few bucks and built, companies that do over, hundreds of millions, or even just millions of dollars. We're all A-type personality, right? We all have this need for wanting to grow and build, and it's very chaotic. So, sort of like an airplane, right? Lots of things going on. Sometimes lots of weather at high speeds. When you land an aircraft at 120 knots, and there's a crosswind, and then there's not a crosswind, and then there is a crosswind. You really have to be prepared for those things, and that's really what I have had to learn over the years. My discipline wasn't being organized. It's how do you organize? And, I would absolutely say that my aviation skills allowed me to use what I've learned in the cockpit in business. And what does that mean? Make a simple checklist for yourself, right? Something super simple, by sort of outlining what your day looks like, what time you wake up, and, what time do you hit the gym, and what kind of meetings do you have scheduled? It's really important, I think, to schedule yourself. And certainly, I would tell you that if you look at aviation, being ahead of the curve, knowing what's coming, is only done by preparing for what is expected to be there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Jason, you mentioned at the very beginning, you mentioned, you only get out of the universe the energy you put in, you get it back. And so, and you also just mentioned what time you wake up, go to the gym. Tell us about that morning routine, because that's what this chapter is a lot about, is how do you do this every day to help you have that mental and physical strength to deal with all the things you have to deal with, whether you're flying the plane or running the business, right?
Yeah, well, okay. So, I mean, ultimately, look, and I'm gonna say this too, and I think that I'm also, and every one of us, I think, can come and go with our schedule, right? Schedule isn't the law. You can set it, you may screw up, right? And the only thing that you can realize is that tomorrow is another day. Just try for tomorrow. Okay, so planning a schedule doesn't, and not fulfilling the obligation of the day, doesn't mean you failed. It just means now you have it for tomorrow to do, right? We call it the parking lot, right? If I missed it, it's on the parking lot. It's there, and I need to do that. But look, typical day in my life is fairly simple. I've got 2 young kids. It's really important for me to have a balance in my life. I don't believe in the whole work-life balance, but it's important to understand what that means. And what exactly does that mean? It means to know that you've got to spend some time with your loved ones, right? I have a great son and daughter, 7 and 9 years old. Getting up in the morning with them first is important. We make them breakfast. I'm part of getting them off to school. We take them to school around 7:30 in the morning. And then after that, it's right to my office. And I've got my schedule laid out for me, which I will, at this time of my life, being in this 22 years, I do have some help. So I've got an amazing team and a great EA who helps lay out some of my schedule for me. And then ultimately, it's fulfilling, sort of like back in the day when I first started. I worked line service in a kitchen. The orders come in, you know what to expect, and they go out. Typically, I'm putting fires out these days. I'm called in when the board or the team can't figure things out, and manage through that. And then now, in the position that I'm in with the companies, is really the outlook. I'm looking now for remember when I said about staying ahead of the curve, right? Like in as a pilot, I want to know, what that runway environment looks like before I'm 2 hours out of that airport. I want to know what runways are there. I want to know what to expect for the weather. Now I'm doing that for the outlook in business. So I'm some call it manifesting, right? We're putting an image together of what this business looks like. And again, I'm focusing on multiple businesses. It's like if you had multiple divisions in an industry, or a company, but I'm focusing on a vision, and I'm saying, okay, this is what I expect exclusive charter service to look like in the next 5 years. And this is what I'm going to do to get there. So I'm really looking at that long-term growth component, and I'm putting together the tools, or I'm creating the steps, the stairs, if you will, to get to that point. That's what my daily life looks like these days.
And you said something that's really, I think, really interesting. There's a passage in the Bible. It's one of the Psalms. It's like a proverb, and it says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And it's really cool because if you think back in the day when people used to carry lanterns around at night, they would hold it close down so they could see they don't step in a hole, but then they'd also have to lift it up so they could see if there's trees or a cliff in front of them. So they were constantly doing this. And what you just projected reminded me of that is so important, because you run your daily life, but then you have to run your projected life in your health, your strength, your wellness, your business, your family. So, Steve, I mean, that's exactly what we were getting to in this chapter. Is preparation is not just today. It's an ongoing process daily that projects our future.
Yeah.
And you also have to adapt. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
I say you also have
please
to
go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
You have to understand that the world around you isn't stagnant. The world around you changes. Whether it's and we've all had a really big wake up call with COVID-19. Nobody knew what was that to expect something like that, right? So when things are thrown at you, just like in the airplane, I'm bringing it back to the airplane. It's how do you adapt to those things, and how do you adapt to those things? It's no different than a boxer learning how to fight, right? If a boxer knew how to fight, he may not have practiced every single punch thrown at him, but when a punch is thrown at you, you know how to pivot and you know how to move. And if you think about, well, not only this is how I expect to see things, but this could happen. What if that happened? What if this happened? That's such an amazing thing about aviation, right? And I think almost every business, every entrepreneur, anyone that wants to actually look at running a business should look at flying an airplane, because an airplane has a beginning and an end, right? It has a mission, and that mission needs to be completed flawlessly. It's the same with anything that you do basically in life, any task that you create, and we learn and we train. Sorry, I've got someone that's knocking at my door. We learn and we train in aviation how to overcome almost every situation by training for it, by practicing for it, and understanding these are the things that could happen. And I think that the word adaptability is super important to know, to always keep that in your arsenal. Know that things can change, and know that you need to be quick on your feet.
And that's becoming invaluable. And that's why Steve and I came up with that title, because what you just mentioned is a flawless execution. And some people they consider that perfectionism or control, and yeah, it kind of is. I mean, it's not easy to execute things. And Steve, you've done it with your business, and I do it, and you do it, Jason. So the execution is all about the preparation.
Yeah. I think, Jason, what in listening to some of the people that have read the book, and what the feedback we're getting is, it's nice to hear that people have challenges, because sometimes somebody might look at this very video and see your plane and your cars and go, oh, that guy's, really successful and had, must have had some really great luck. Well, I have a feeling you probably had some surprises along the way in that journey to achieve what you've achieved.
Yeah. So outside of just surprises, I think, we've had some, look, I mean, everybody has some crazy times in life. First, let me say that, this started with $400, a plan on a napkin at a restaurant called Hula Hands, if everyone's from the Northeast. Yeah. And every Wednesday turned to every Wednesday and Thursday, and then every Wednesday and Thursday turned to every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had some amazing partners. One left very early in the business, but the other was not only a childhood friend, but someone that, and I would say that, from the businesses I've created, and, it's mentioned there in the book, and I appreciate you guys capturing that, is that I certainly would not be where I am today without that partner. And I think that in any sort of business and any person has to have somebody, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a mom and dad, I think it's very important to understand, to listen to other, even if it sounds like criticism, absorb that, take that in. But, one challenge in particular that I've, have had to overcome in those years, and, and by the way, 20 years since we started that company, the main business. About 6 years ago, my partner passed from cancer. I mean, a stomach ache turned to stage 4 stomach cancer. And, there are many challenges along the way that we both endured, but, together we always had each other to sort of bounce ideas off of. And, in a time like that, you start to ask yourself and even question yourself. And I think even some of the people in the company question, wow, is this company over? You've got a main partner. I was always the guy out there making the money, and we joked he was the one that was counting it, but also most importantly, the backbone of the business, right? I didn't know how to, manage a P&L or, work through, CapEx questions or things that were important for actual business. I was just go make it. We started with $400, all right, and a Capital One credit card. I remember, because that was all that my credit would allow me to have back in the day. So even, you can grow a business from nothing. That is that's the most amazing thing about the United States. But yeah, having to manage, he was a close friend, and I think all of the leadership between that time allowed me to realize, and while I'm sitting here, I had one of my employees stop to my house, and I told him I was on a podcast. And he's also an equity partner of the company, bringing me a cup of coffee just to say good morning to me. This is someone who helped me help Adam. So Adam was my partner. When he was going through cancer, I was at every single doctor's appointment with him. He wanted a non-biased position, non-emotional. We lived in Houston at MD Anderson, back and forth. But because I had the team, the team is so important, right? That core, when you start to build a business, and remember, we talked about putting energy out to people. When you don't realize you're giving people, you don't realize what you're doing. But I guess those, 10 years or 14 years of business, those guys picked up the pieces and ran the businesses for us, right? While I was helping manage his cancer. And again, they gave me back finally, right? You don't realize it. You take care of Adam what you need to, and I took care of that. I wouldn't have been able to overcome that situation. I look at why was I able to do both? And how am I able to do so much? It's one of your questions. How are you able to do all of these things? And people always ask that question. I find it fascinating. And I realize, well, geez, it's really not me doing it all. It's not anymore. You put in, right? And you give to others. You not just give them financial wherewithal but you give them you help them, and you guide them, and you realize, I think in turn, again, I'm not giving to get something back. I've realized over the time, Steve, that energy has allowed us to overcome those things. And we made it through, a terrible time with the business, losing an amazing friend and partner, and then taking the business from that point where I thought, what am I going to do here? Everybody rallied, and we utilized, we said WWAD. What would Adam do? WWAD, right? And we worked together, like he was right there with us. And we went from a $50 million company at that point to over 100 million. So, you look at, not only can we maintain, we grew during that time.
Right. Terry, I think we seem to have lost your audio there for just a moment. So, Jason, that's an incredible story, and that kind of commitment between you and your partner, Adam, I mean, that's just tremendous. And you're right. You don't know you're giving, but your people witnessed you giving to Adam and being with him every step of the way through that process. And so they see those demonstrations of leadership. We talk about servant leadership a little bit in the book, which is what you're really saying is giving to other people first and making that your priority. I think, though, for today, we have to kind of draw this together. And I want to say that, from this whole health and strength builder perspective, when you come into a difficulty like that, as a last word here from you, and then Terry can wrap things up. When you come into a difficulty like that mental and literally physical too, strength that you have to get through something like that. Can you just give us a minute on that real quick to reflect on that a little bit and how that must have been draining, not just emotionally, but it had to be, physically, mentally draining.
Yeah, listen, no question. I mean, I think we're all human beings, and I look at it as everything that happens to you is a challenge, and whether you're a spiritual person and, or even if you're not a spiritual person, life will put challenges in front of you. It's just part of how things go. It could be at work. It could be at home. It could be, within your family. And they might not even be your challenges. They may be someone else's challenges. One thing that I did after Adam passed was I joined an incredible program called YPO. And, YPO is a young professionals organization, and, you have to be under a certain age and whatnot. And it was incredible opportunity because the community of people have faced challenges just like this. And what you learn from that is that so many other people face the same sort of challenges, right? And we share through experience. That's what we do in YPO, right? And that's one confidential thing that I can say about YPO, and it's an organization that really helps you. It really helps you sort of navigate through those decision making processes by learning through other people's experiences. And that's something that everybody should do. And, challenges that people have, they may not be your own, but you can learn from those challenges, and you can understand and ask them, well, what did you do? And how did you overcome that? It may not be the right answer, but you'll find that if you're running a multi-billion-dollar company, or a company that does 10 million, in revenue, a lot of the problems are, even a small company like a barber shop making maybe $1 million. A lot of whether it's hiring personnel is just as difficult probably for the barber as it is for the multi-billionaire, right? Yeah. So,
and that is and what you just mentioned is becoming invaluable, and that was the whole reason that Steve and I wanted to joint venture on this book, because we've all met really incredible people like yourself. And we chose you as one of our 9 contributors to each chapter to share their story, because like you say about YPO and the Vistage groups, and there's groups out there, there's men's group that meet and women's groups that meet to strength build together. So this chapter is all about strength building. So, we all have to learn to get out of our own way, because we don't know everything. We can't do everything. We need teams, as you mentioned.
You can't do it yourself. Everybody thinks, well, he did that. He did. They did that. it's not about that, right? As you mentioned, Terry, it becoming invaluable, I think, means, to add value to the world,
Yes.
right? If you add value to the world and to others, that's what creates, that individual to be invaluable,
And that
because
is the
ultimately
beauty of
it
it.
comes back, right? Yeah,
That's
it's
the beauty of it.
pretty
It's
amazing.
cyclical, whether it's our families, our spouses, all the above, our missions in life, our communities. So we really appreciate you coming on and being authentic. Steve and I really enjoyed our long interview with each of you to get to the place that we could only put you on one page. So we could have shared pages, and maybe one day you'll do a book, because you should. You've got enough in you, by far. But we really appreciate you being on, Jason. So
Thank you.
if someone wants to find your services, just share quickly, how they can find you, you don't have to give your email address, but at least your website so people can look you up.
So the charter company, ecsjets.com, is where you can find us if you're interested in chartering an aircraft. And for those that don't know, we charter aircraft for a living. We manage private aircraft for a living. Every private jet owner out there needs help in understanding how to budget and manage those aircraft. And when they're not utilizing those aircraft, they put them into a charter service. We help them through that, and we help them generate revenue on that aircraft. It's no different than managing a home, but we're managing a lot of moving parts, and incredible organization, incredible group of people that can support any of the listeners here. But I want to say one last thing. I read the book, and I think the book truly is a really great reflection on what we're talking about here. And it takes the experiences of many individuals and shares that with the world. And I hope that anyone that's looking to sort of navigate through, and potentially turbulent times with the economy, and how to build a business, or think about it's the fundamentals, right? It's the atoms, if you will. It's the stuff that dreams are built of is right here in the book. And I know that sounds, sort of funny in a way, but it really is I always, and I'll leave it with this, a chef knows how to bake a cake, right? You imagine writing a book and saying, hey, let's perfect the cookie. Let's take a look at all of these wonderful, dessert chefs that have done this in all of these 5-star restaurants and see what they did. And you know what you realize is that most of them all had very simple ingredients and you pull out the ingredients from your book, right? And understand that it takes only 4 or 5 ingredients to make a good cookie. And I'm not trying to compare a cookie, but I want you to understand that it's just that simple. And your book allows that. Your book pulls those ingredients out of someone like myself and shares it with the world. So if you haven't read it, pick it up and read it. Without question.
You can find it on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. I think it's also Walmart now. I think it's going to Target. So this is really early on, and we're seeing a lot of traction. We're really excited about it. So you can find us at becominginvaluable.com. You can get it at, preferably, Amazon is probably the best place to start. And Jason, thank you for being a contributor. Steve, most of all to you for being a co-author with me. I appreciate your friendship and your ability to help me navigate through this process, because it wasn't easy. Like anything you charter, you have to kind of know where you finish, and we did finish the book.
No, it's a great way to put it all together, because Terry, you helped me navigate my business for 5 years. Now we navigated this together. But most importantly, thank you for introducing Jason to me as well, and now to all of our listeners and our readers, because you're an incredible human being, Jason, and you've built an incredible business, and we can't thank you enough. And this time I'm going to say it correctly: exclusive charter services jet.
Thank you.
Jet, ECS jet, and I apologize for that at the beginning.
No, it's fine.
Thank you very much for being on, and we hope you all will enjoy the book, and check us out at www.becominginvaluable.com. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time. We'll talk soon.
Adios.
Bye-bye.